Today we're going to take a look at adapting lenses with lens adapters to the Panasonic G9 II. Hey everyone, Sean here with Fotodiox.com, and we just got our hands on the new Panasonic G9 II. This is a solid new camera from Panasonic. It's a micro four thirds mount camera with a micro four thirds sensor. That means you got a 2x crop. It's got really wonderful image stabilization, and it's designed more for the photographer than the filmmaker, but it actually has some pretty nice filmmaking modes. So this is a great hybrid camera for a photographer or filmmaker who wants to shoot micro four thirds and wants a solid camera to do it. Now, there are plenty of great micro four thirds lenses out there for this camera, but in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Fotodiox micro four thirds lens adapters. These are lens adapters to adapt non-micro four thirds lenses to a micro four thirds camera. And the great thing about this is you can adapt all sorts of vintage lenses and modern lenses that don't have a micro four thirds mount. Now, we have a ton of micro four thirds adapters to adapt all sorts of lenses to this camera, but in today's video, we're going to just focus on 5 specific ones and show you how they work. First up is our ND throttle. This is our line of lens adapters with built-in variable ND filters. You just turn the silver ring on the side of the adapter to lighten or darken the VND filter. You can go to 2 to 8 stops of ND filtration, and this is great for shooting shallow depth of field video and long exposure photography. Now, we have a couple different versions of the ND throttle for micro four thirds mount cameras. This is the Nikon to micro four thirds ND throttle. Super simple to use. We're just going to mount our Nikon 35mm lens on the front. Then we're going to mount the lens and adapter to our G9 II. Now, this is a fully manual adapter, so you won't get any autofocus or electronic aperture control, but it does have a little aperture control wheel here built into the adapter, and that is for controlling the aperture of your Nikon lens. That's great for using more modern Nikon lenses that don't have a manual aperture control ring. Like I said, this is great for shooting shallow depth of field video. I've got my shutter speed set to a 50th of a second, ISO set at 100, and I've got the Nikon lens's aperture wide open at f1.8, and as you can see, it's completely blown out. But then I just take this silver geared wheel, crank in the VND filter, darken the ND filter, cut the amount of light coming through the lens, and I've got a correct exposure. If you're planning on shooting video with your micro four thirds camera and adapted manual lenses, the ND throttle adapter line is essential. It is so much easier than having the ND filter on the front of your lens. You don't have to swap out different filters for different lenses. You've got the VND filter built right into the adapter. It's protecting the sensor when you swap lenses, and it's just a superb setup. Next up is our DLX Stretch line of adapters. These are lens adapters with a built-in macro helicoid, which means you can turn any adapted lens into a macro focusing lens. This is our Canon FD to micro four thirds DLX Stretch adapter. You just mount your Canon FD lens on the front, and then you're just going to mount the adapter onto the camera. And as you can see, as I turn this wheel, I'm actually moving the lens farther away from the sensor of the camera. And that's basically going to turn this lens into a macro focusing lens. Here are a couple demo images I shot with this 28mm lens. As you can see in the first shot, I can only focus so close up, but in the second shot, when I'm fully cranked in the macro helicoid, I can focus much, much closer, basically turning this 28mm adapted lens into a macro lens. This is great for macro photography and video, but it's also good if you just need to focus a little closer than your lens can focus. This adapter also has drop-in ND filters. They're magnetic. You just drop them in the back. So you also have that ND filtration. The DLX Stretch includes 3 drop-in magnetic filters. They are ND4, ND8, and ND16, and they come in this handy little carrying pouch. Next up is our TLT ROKR line of adapters. These are tilt shift lens adapters. Basically, they turn any adapted lens into a tilt shift lens. This is our Nikon to micro four thirds tilt ROKR. So again, we're going to use the Nikon 35mm, mount it on the adapter, and then we're going to mount it on the camera. Now, in its starting position, the tilt ROKR works like any other adapter, but it has a couple different controls that allow you to add shift and tilt to the adapted lens. There's a silver button on the top. When you push it, you can shift your lens left or right for shifting. And then there's this gold knob on the side. Loosen that, and you can tilt the lens down. And then if you want to adjust where the tilt is, you can push this golden button on the other side, and you can rotate the tilt 360 degrees. Now with most cameras you can rotate 360 degrees, but as you can see the prism on the G9 II is bumping into one of the knobs on the adapter, so it's not letting me rotate it completely around, but I can still do most of the movements. And being able to give any adapted lens tilt shift control is a great way to add fine tuning to your image creation. Let's say you're shooting a shallow depth of field image and you want to just slightly adjust what's in focus and what's not. Well, by adding just a little bit of tilt to your lens, you're adjusting the focal plane of the lens and you're allowing some things that would otherwise not be in focus to be in focus. Now, if you want to get extra creative with extreme selective focus, you can tilt all the way, and this gives you a narrow beam of selective focus, which is great for giving you that miniaturized effect, which a lot of people use when they're shooting time lapses, and it's also great for creating more artistic, old-fashioned feeling photos. Shifting is great for correcting perspective distortion, and it's also great for creating a stitched panorama. Lock down your camera, shift one way, take a photo, shift the other way, take a second photo, then you can stitch these two shifted photos together to create a panoramic image. Next up is our Leica M to Micro Four Thirds adapter. This allows you to adapt beautiful Leica M rangefinder lenses to your Micro Four Thirds camera. And that's one of the beauties of using Fotodiox lens adapters. You don't just have to adapt big, beefy, modern lenses to your camera. You can adapt nice little compact lenses with a more vintage feel as well. Here's some images I captured with this lens camera combo. As you can see, beautiful lens, beautiful camera, great pairing. And finally, just to show the breadth and depth of our Fotodiox adapter line, this is a Tamron Adaptol lens. These lenses were designed to adapt to various different kinds of camera mounts. You would get the Adaptol lens, and then it would come with different adapters to adapt it to different lens mounts of the time. And we make an adapter to go between Tamron Adaptol and Micro Four Thirds. It's kind of a unique adapter. The mount on the Adaptol is pretty unique. It's like a reverse bayonet. Just mount the two together, mount them on the camera, and there we go. Now we've got this really unique and kind of beautifully designed Tamron 135mm lens, I think from around the 60s, adapted to this modern Micro Four Thirds G9 II camera, which just goes to show how unique you can get with Fotodiox lens adapters on the G9 II. Pretty much any vintage lens you find at a thrift store or an antique store or online, you can most likely adapt to your G9 II, which opens a world of imaging possibilities. Okay, that was a quick look at some of our favorite Fotodiox lens adapters for the Lumix G9 II. If you have any questions about anything I talked about in today's video, comment below. I'd love to help you out. And if you'd like to get one of these lens adapters that I talked about today, click the links in the description below. Also, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and thanks for watching.